Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is maintaining frame number 122. Lonely men are not our problem. Responding to Hannah Cox, who is going to opine on the lonely men epidemic that people are discussing online and why this is just distracting from really important things that women have to deal with. So, why are we doing this? Okay,
Why
so
indeed? I,
yeah.
I just before like I decided on this title, but I'm wondering, is it accurate? Like I don't know what her thesis is. I know you did the work of going through the time codes. Thank you very much. I was actually having Canadian Thanksgiving today, so I was
Yeah.
off with the in-laws having some
Um,
roast bird.
Happy Thanksgiving, whatever that's worth to the Canadians, considering it seems
Eh.
like you guys lost. But
Wait, clarify. What did we lose?
lost. Well, I mean, lost as in like when people think of Thanksgiving, they think of the
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 American
let's say
Thanksgiving,
the
yeah.
collision of two cultures, right? American Thanksgiving is we sat down with the Indians and we all shared a meal together, right?
Native
And
Americans.
yeah, but
Aboriginal
Americans don't
Americans?
have to. Well, whatever. Indigenous peoples,
Okay, yeah.
um, but Americans don't have to make land acknowledgments. So it seems like you guys lost. I'm joking, but um,
Yeah, well, I mean, ours is more of a celebration of getting everything off before the winter crushes us
oh, okay.
all.
I'm sure
Yeah.
that that's also the case for us, but that's just not the framing. The framing is we ate together, and then the Western colonists killed all the natives with their blankets because they understood germ theory in the 1600s. So yeah,
Eh, I think it was a lot more complicated than that, like a lot of things in history.
I would like to believe that, but still.
No, you don't need to believe it. It's true. Like
Well, I
I don't.
know, I know.
I know is probably not a news flash for you, Brian, but people are people
No,
wherever they come from.
let me reframe that. I mean, like, I'd like to believe that normal people would accept that it's probably more complex than that, but
Mm.
I don't think our public education system is going to do that for people. It's not that honest, but anyway,
Mm.
we
Yeah,
digress.
I got you. Yeah,
So
we digress. Yeah.
yeah,
What I meant to say is that I don't know if this title is accurate because I don't know what her thesis is on whether or not we should pay attention to the loneliness epidemic among men.
I I think you guessed pretty right
Oh,
because once you understand the way that feminism works, it's really they become really easy to predict.
mm,
You know,
yeah.
so yeah,
Everything makes women a victim, and in
yeah.
every way, men are the aggressor.
When
Which,
men suffer, it's their fault. So,
yeah, which is interesting because if you think about it, it basically means that the only actions in the world are men's actions.
uh-huh.
That's it. Congratulations. You're
Yes,
the only people that really exist in feminist
not just
theory.
men's actions, but men's inaction is
But
also
you
men's
but
fault.
men are the demiurge, but the demiurge is also evil.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yes,
Alright.
they're God
Alright.
and Satan wrapped up in one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll
So,
do the things. I'll do the
yeah,
things.
do the things. Okay.
Alright, so if you wanna send us a message, if you wanna take issue with anything that we say or comment on it, or you think we're missing something or whatever tickles your fancy, you want to say we're doing a great job. Sometimes people say that. You can do so at feedthebadger.com/just the tip. We get the full benefit of whatever funds you send, and you get the benefit of sending your comment not through YouTube's comment diffuser system. Whatever that, what you can take of that, what you will. I also like to point out that we do have YouTube memberships. um, if you want to have more emojis, if you want to have early access to things on the channel, although the subscribers through feedthebadger.com/subscribe get them first. But that whets your fancy. You want to have more options. You want to wow the crowd with your diverse emojis. Then consider a membership to our channel. And if you want to support the show for the month, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/support, which is the very best way to support us, by the way. All right. Shall we just
Yeah, let's jump into the intro.
where do we carve into this delectable bird?
Yeah. So,
What
first
end do we start with?
she's going to present us the topic. Listen for the straw men. That's all I can say. That's basically the whole video. listen to all the ways that she literally misrepresents or just straight up lies about what men are going to. And also listen for some of the names that she drops when making her case. And then the icing on this shit Oreo cookie is the end where she brings out a man because the women like Hannah Cox believe that men will only listen to other men when they're getting advice, even if those other men are just as condescending and just as like infantilizing as the women are. So yeah, this hurt my soul. I'm drinking because of this fucking video. And I try not to because I don't want to harm my liver any more than it already has been. But okay, so let us get into this. I'm going to turn on the macros here. Not this one. This one. All right, here we go. So we're going to start with the intro.
Hey guys, I'm Hannah Cox with Base Politics, and you're watching my show Histrionics, where every week we talk about women's issues from a centrist point of view. The male loneliness epidemic has gotten a considerable amount of coverage over the past couple of years, but the question still remains, what are we supposed to do about it, and who specifically is supposed to take action here?
So right off the bat, I just want to say she doesn't say libertarian point of view. She says centrist. So somewhat more honest than her original claim to be a libertarian feminist, but still dishonest because she is still a feminist in like every way. She's not like a different brand, completely not. Like she is the wolf in sheep's clothing knocking on the door at the Mises caucus. Like, I'm one of you guys, let me in. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, feminist is not centrism, because feminism, there is an ideology with its own framework. And incidentally, when you look at the academic end of feminism, the framework is that men use domestic violence and sexual assault and domestic murder to uphold the patriarchy. Like, that is core feminist analysis on the issues of domestic violence and sexual assault, but also on the issue of how our society functions. They essentially say that domestic violence and sexual assault to patriarchy is as money is to capitalism, right? That's what they are asserting, that it is an essential component of maintaining the status quo. That is not a centrist position. To regard half the human race as using criminal violence against the other half is an extremist position. It is a conspiratorial position. It is a position that is actually completely, at this point in time, has never been proven, right? So that feminism exists on an extreme. An extreme
it's radical,
extreme.
it's revolutionary.
A radical extreme. All of it is.
Yeah.
Exists on a radical extreme.
I mean, just accept it. When she says centrist, what she doesn't mean moderate. She means like, it's like another way of saying it's just the most obvious common sense position. So that it's just good, guys. It's all the good things. I'm a feminist because the good things. That's what she's saying when she says that.
Anti-Semitism, but instead of, Jews are responsible for everything. Do not cut that out of context. I'm talking about the anti-Semitic conspiracy. But the moderate position that instead of exterminating them, we're going to demand reparations from them. But we still believe this conspiracy theory, right? But somehow, and this is the big thing, somehow men use violence and criminal behavior to keep women in line, and yet women are going to be able to appeal to them for reparations. So it's funny because the radfem position that there's no truce, there's no appealing. Somehow, the radfem position is that there is no truce. There's only femtopia, the femtopia separatist, or getting rid of most of men. But when you ask them, well, how's that going to come up? As soon as men give us our fem separatist utopia, I'm like, you're still appealing to the very people you say are your dread enemies. I mean, was that part of, the art of war? The way you win a war is to ask or demand that your enemy lose, because it's equivalent, right? But this whole thing, this whole framework is extremism. So what's centrism? Well, considering men's point of view at all, I suppose.
Well, listening to what they have to say before you shoot them down anyway, because
Or
that's what
decide.
she does. Or you misrepresent what they're saying while claiming to listen, and then you shoot them down, and then you blame them, because that's what
Mhm,
this is going to be. So, anyway, let's play some
mhm.
more of her opening statement here.
For many women, there is an underlying accusation in these headlines that women have caused the problem and therefore need to help solve it. But in response, a growing number of women are pushing back, claiming that men have brought the situation on themselves. And if they're such great, big, strong leaders, then, well, shouldn't they be able to solve this epidemic on their own? In previous
Well, maybe they
decades,
aren't. Like, look at how she's using this identity to manipulate men against recognizing a vulnerability, even a vulnerability to women. Like, I don't know why women have such a problem with this. Women are to blame. Just take it. Just accept it. Just marinate it. Just stay a moment. Women are to blame.
She even points out that at least if there's a little bit of truth there that she like either like did not catch because it didn't fit her, because she's setting the frame up, right? She's framing this before she goes in. And so she says there are parts of like the internet that are claiming that women are, in part to blame and should help to fix the problem. So this isn't even a complete scapegoating of women. Even then, there are guys saying, we need women to help with this. They're saying we need women to help, which means that men want to be like involved in the solution. But she is saying, no, that sounds like you're blaming women and that you're demanding that we all do something while you sit back and do nothing.
Okay,
No.
but bear me out. Bear me out.
Yeah.
Women are 100% to blame. Just hold that thought. Their actions have caused this situation. I'm not going to go into whether or not this is accurate. I'm just saying, let's just stay in the moment of just saying that. Women are 100% to blame. Their actions have caused this situation. Their actions have caused this situation. They're 100% to blame. Okay. Has anyone died? Has anybody listening had their eyes melt? Has their mother spontaneously dropped dead and rolled into her grave? No, nothing is going to happen if we blame women, right? Except that maybe we'll get a solution, right? It's just, it is something we need to get over as a species, as a culture, whatever. We need to be able to blame women. Full stop. We already do it over and over and over and over again for women, for men. Now we need to just accept that. And I need to see more women just say, maybe women are to blame. This is what we need to see. We need to see more women accept that they may have responsibility as a result of their actions and say, maybe I am to blame, and not die from it. Like, I'm not dead. I'm not freaking melting. I can do it. Why can't you? Like, why is this terrifying? For me, it's it is relieving, because the alternative is that my actions don't matter. And the only real people in the world, the only people with free will, are men. And yes, maybe men are saying, hey, could you help me with this? Maybe they aren't infinitely strong, infinitely capable of leadership, Hannah Cox. Isn't that a great thing to know? That you have something that you need to do as a woman, to take responsibility for as a woman, to step up to the plate as a woman, that your actions matter, that they have an impact? Like, why do women want to stay in this lukewarm amniotic fluid of no accountability? Don't you realize that you don't develop? Okay, I'm done.
All right, playing some more.
Before we achieved equality between the sexes in the West, women were often forced to marry to have access to basic resources. That means that many men who were undeserving of wives or children got them anyways due to the desperate choices women were forced to make. And it's also true that in previous generations, as women worked to redefine their roles in a post-equality world, Many initially attempted to shoulder a career as well as the traditional roles their mothers held before them, which included not only the majority of the housework and child rearing, but also the social planning for their husbands. As I've discussed in previous episodes, this did not go well for those women, and they taught their daughters to not put themselves in these kinds of positions. Women have listened. They got degrees, they sought out successful careers, and many have worked to build fulfilling lives with or without a male partner. Those that are in heterosexual relationships are usually working full time these days, and they're just no longer interested in being their partner's maid or mother or secretary or event planner.
I just tuned out there for a bit. Is she saying that our grandmothers told us to go work and not have a husband?
Yeah, something like that. Also, she's saying that women are now earning their own money, so they don't need men anymore. I'm pretty sure that's not the reason why women are earning their own money. I think it's because our money isn't worth shit, and we both have to work now to make ends meet because of what the state has done to our economy. That's what
Mm.
it is. And I mean, women entering the workforce and the lowering the average wages to a degree, on top of the fact that we are becoming a more, or we have become a much more materialistic culture that spends a lot of money on shit we don't need, pre-trash, and women are the chief they're the chief leaders in consumption, especially useless consumption. But I mean, Hannah Cox would never acknowledge that because, well, she's like literally reading off of a page. I feel like she's probably getting money from Planned Parenthood. I'm just gonna say it. She's getting
Mm.
money from the Planned Parenthood and the the World Economic Forum and stuff to go on there and say, I'm a libertarian feminist. Here are all my feminist talking points that are literally identical to all other feminist talking points, but I'm going to use this, like kind of fashionable ideology of libertarianism to back this up. But ultimately, I'm really not that because, I have the same narratives that I'm spewing. Um, but yeah, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, like I was gonna cast shade on her junk that she has on the back here.
Oh no, let's just okay, I'm gonna
Let's
jump.
not.
She's like laying the stage out, but let's jump
Her
ahead a little
pre-trash.
bit. Yeah, I mean, like I'm just saying, like to say, well, women are independent now, and therefore, men are just being babies. It's just, I don't know. It's almost like she takes pleasure in this while
Of course she
claiming to be
does.
for equality. So yeah,
Well,
Hear about the male
she
loneliness
takes pleasure in it because it is a negation of supposedly men's identity as being the strong leaders. So she takes pleasure in that. She's taking pleasure in poking them in the face because of that. It is a thing. All right, I'll leave it at that.
yeah.
epidemic, what can actually be done about it, who should be doing the doing. We're going to discuss all of that today, but before we dive into this episode, make sure
Okay, I'm gonna jump ahead to. So she's basically gonna get to okay 3 minutes.
Wait, you know
Hold on
what I
a
found
second.
out recently?
What?
The divorce rate in the 50s was almost the same as it is now. Did you know that?
No.
And the divorce rate in the 40s was 1/3 what it is now. Now, there was more marriages overall, but divorce was happening about its same amount. So it's not like we've increased by all of this, we've increased per capita divorce. Women back then could get divorces, and they were getting divorces, and they were getting alimony when they got a divorce. So I'm not exactly sure why she's saying they were so hard done by. And the other thing is, and I was thinking about this, if being a wife and taking care of a home is itself a job, well, when you lose your job, you get a new one. Right?
Yeah.
So what's the problem? When men lose their jobs, they get a new one. Anyway, let's keep going.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep going.
forced to walk around in full hoods at all times. There's also been a rise in anti-women rhetoric on the right in the US, which I've covered extensively here. There's been growing attacks on women who don't have kids by prominent GOP Republicans, and also incidents of women dying, even here in my own state of Georgia, due to insane restrictions that were placed on reproductive health in some states post-adoption decisions. So, given this environment, it isn't hard to see why some women are arguing that men have either brought the loneliness epidemic on themselves, or at the very least, that women's problems are still more pressing, and men should care about some of these
Wait,
things first.
what are the problems that she mentioned? I keep
Uh,
losing interest for some
okay.
reason.
Well, let me.
Don't
Okay.
reverse it. Just tell me. I don't need
No.
to hear her again.
All right. All right. Well, basically, she's saying that like women still have problems today, and she gave a few examples. She even mentioned she calls it attacks, which is really stupid. That's a brain dead take right there. When somebody says, or like you said, simply criticizes women, right, for their political choices or whatever, or even just like says, maybe motherhood isn't the worst thing. And there are women saying this, not just men. And she's like, those are attacks on women. So the fact that there are people like JD Vance that say, I don't like the idea that childless cat ladies are essentially directing, the deciding the future of our country. And it's something that I've talked about too, because it's like, well, if you're not invested in the future and you're just mad because Cat Turd trolled you successfully on Twitter and you're like, I'm going to vote to destroy everything. Well, just to get back at him, well, yeah, I'm going to criticize you for that because that's boneheaded and you deserve it. But Hannah Cox sees that and she's like, oh, women are being attacked online, and it's like, no, you're a moron. You're a moron. You're a moron that can hide behind the fact that you're a woman, and white knights will come forward and defend you because we're not supposed to criticize women ever. And that's how easy it is for this to become a conversation about, well, men brought this on themselves. And she even says, well, I can understand how some women would say that men brought this on themselves. And it sounds like she's giving us a little bit of, the benefit of the doubt, but she doesn't, because she just doubles down on that for the rest of the video. So really, she's not saying, I can see how some women, she's saying, I agree with these women and they're right. But I won't say that because I'm spineless. I'm a parasite that essentially just uses my ideology to infiltrate, probably what we need, which is a small government solution. But she doesn't really believe in any of that. So she's just going to say we should be focusing on women right now. Surprise. The feminist wants to focus on women. No matter how bad things get for men, there's some guy saying unpolite things on the internet. So stop. Everybody stop. And she also mentioned women in the Middle East and stuff, because that's an easy one to do too. So.
Okay. Of course. And what if the party of single women is destroying the economy, is destroying the border, is destroying all of these things? And now you're saying we can't criticize they're the voting patterns, right, of basically the largest voting demographic and getting bigger. So we is this how it all ends? We have the party of single women who vote for destruction, and then we have the supposedly conservative and libertarian women who say we can't criticize that. Well, then you get more of it. Like literally, she's basically saying she has no position, but the same position. She doesn't have any
principles.
No position, but the identical position of the voters who are voting in everything she supposedly stands against. That's what these conservative women are doing. They're saying, I have no position except caping for the people who are voting for the things that I'm supposedly against. Well, you're not. Unless you allow that we can criticize the majority voters who are voting for this stuff and ask ourselves, how do we stop this? Then all you're doing functionally is caping for that position. So basically, we have all women who are going to vote for the destruction of the West based on their vanity projects around supposed morality. And then we have the few men who might stand up to them. And then mostly conservative men who the instant conservative women say, oh, hey, you can't criticize women. They are caping for women. They're like, yeah, that's totally true. And we are all losing because we criticize the people who are causing the problem. The problem comes You see how this works? It's like this insane mental trap. Women are creating a problem. And I'm just going to say it. Women are creating a problem. The other women who aren't part of the group of women creating the problem cape. They turn around, point their spears outward, and say, we're going to protect those women creating this problem, because you cannot criticize women as a group. You can't even criticize women as a group by saying women are doing this. Doesn't mean the whole group does it, but a substantial portion of it does, and we need to deal with it. No, they're going to point their spears outward and protect them while they do it. And conservative men are going to look at this and say, the reason why this problem is happening is because men are criticizing women. Do you see how it's now, what do you do? Like, it goes from a problem being created by single women and their voting patterns, right? And then it goes to conservative women say, you can't call out women, you can't criticize women. And then the conservative men say, oh, this problem actually exists because men criticize women. And it's this mental trap that we get into, that we remove blame from women, remove responsibility from women, and then somehow men. Mm-hmm. It's a mental trap that we're in, and it's because of the way that for generations we've structured our identities. Men act, women are acted upon. Okay.
Yep. All right, let's play some more of the video.
Growing attacks on women who don't have kids by prominent GOP Republicans, and also incidents of women dying even in their own state of Georgia.
What?
Growing attacks? Are the attacks growing?
Growing online attacks. I don't know.
Good.
You know what? Maybe, yeah. Like, there are like.
Good. Women deserve some criticism. They 100% do. How much criticism have men taken? Maybe for once we should criticize women a little. Do you think that throughout all of human history, there have been stories and narratives, like the narrative of Gilgamesh? Gilgamesh has to meet Enkidu and the temple priestesses to go from a selfish asshat to a man, a leader who's of service to his community. What, do women not need a narrative of going from a selfish asshat whose entire worldview revolves around cheap dick, abortion, and vanity projects, using the country for vanity vanity morality? Like, do you think that they don't need a freaking narrative? Men have had the hero's journey since basically the dawn of time. And that hero's journey is, you're an asshole, learn to be better. You don't think women don't need that? You're an asshole, learn to be better. Yes, they do. They need a role model. Constantly talk about role models. They need a set of mythologies that say, actually, ladies, when you just pop out with your menstruation and your boobs, actually, that doesn't make you a good person. You have to develop, and you have to earn it. And you have to overcome your natural inclination to do wrong and be selfish and be an asshole. We need the female Gilgamesh. All right. I'm done.
Sorry. All right. That's okay. Let's keep going.
Due to insane restrictions that were placed on reproductive health in some states post the Dobbs decisions. So given this environment, it isn't hard to see why some women are arguing that men have either brought the loneliness epidemic on themselves, or at the very least that women's problems are still more pressing, and men should care about some of these things first before women are expected to come in and fix their loneliness crisis. This discussion has been
you see how like sarcastic and condescending she is? She was getting it in the comments, though. I will say the men were pissed off, or at least like the people commenting, they were not thrilled with her take, which is good because normally these Hannah Cox videos get a lot of praise. So
yeah, well, it's literally, if men are lonely, where are they going to find? They can find companionship with each other. Do you want a world like that? Like, I snap my fingers tomorrow, Hannah Cox, and men regard each other as more important companions than women. Therefore, their loneliness epidemic is over. But then who has a loneliness epidemic? If men solve themselves their loneliness epidemic, and they start to only be interested in, platonic, I'm going to use the word bromance comes to mind. I know that's probably wrong, but, platonic relationships with other men, go wear a toga in a forest and cogitate about geometry, and make beer like the medieval monks, If men do that, if men solve this problem for themselves, are you sure you want that? Because that means they don't need you.
All right.
Platforms online. I'll give you a few examples. This person on Twitter said the male loneliness epidemic is simply accountability for men's misogyny. Leave them alone and maybe they will learn. Another person who was responding to the reports
Misogyny,
about
huh?
the Swiss model who was murdered by her husband said strangled, dismembered, and pureed in an effing blender by her husband. But y'all want me to care about a male loneliness epidemic? Men
Okay, I
killing their
got you
wives,
one. I
girlfriends, and
got you
daughters
one.
every
A woman strangled her partner during sex, dismembered his body. Well, she actually literally was raping him as she murdered him. Dismembered his body and left his remains in a bucket for his mother to find. Yes. And also, I looked at the stats on this. When women kill an intimate partner, their crimes are unbelievably like serial killer psychotic in terms of their brutality. They're far more brutal than men. Men will just shoot their partner. Women will, cut off little pieces of him while he's sewn to a chair and feed it to them and then chop his head off. Some horrific thing like that. Like, women are beyond the pale when it comes to domestic murder. So don't give me this shit. And again, these are the behaviors of the extreme element of both male and females. These are criminals. This doesn't relate to men who are lonely, which is the average man, or well, not necessarily the average man, but more and more the average man. There's no connection there.
I get the sense that the women that she is referencing or quoting in these posts are she's using as justification as to why men don't deserve empathy or sympathy from women, but they have to use these extreme cases, these anecdotal events, which are really unfortunate and everything. But it's funny because they're like, y'all want me to care about male loneliness, but this one thing happened over here, so none of y'all deserve anything now. And you're
Yeah.
supposed and so like it's like, so you don't really care at all. Like you
No,
are
you're
looking
just
for
making
reasons.
excuses not to care.
You're looking for reasons and you're creating the conditions so that you can just look the other way and pretend like you don't care. And it's okay. You don't have to pretend. You can just say, I don't give a shit about men. We get it. Like we get it. We know. We understand. Don't pretend
Yeah.
like you would if only there was never murder. Because that's what you're saying. We would care about
Yeah.
you if only crime didn't exist. And if only we lived in a utopia. Also, I'm a libertarian that doesn't believe in utopia because that's bad. But I do when it comes to human nature. Yeah. So, it's like I just don't, you're not a serious person. But
Yeah, it's
let's
true.
let's let her read the rest of this out.
single day, but I'm supposed to believe that misandry is, quote, just as bad as misogyny. And lastly, this person said most of the, quote, male loneliness epidemic is women just choosing not to interact with awful men and the men crying that they are entitled to women's attention and affection and bodies. And listen, I'm going to push back on some of this, but the frank truth is there are some men who need to be avoided, who are dangerous, who are destructive.
Yeah, and there are women
Yeah, and
who also need to be avoided and they're dangerous and they're destructive. Can you acknowledge
I
that? Oh
I
no,
don't
that's blaming women. We can't do that.
I don't think
Can't
Blake
blame women.
Wilson is experiencing a loneliness epidemic.
Yeah, right.
Like, seriously.
Yeah, like these
Like,
like
you
fucking
say
serial
this,
murderers,
and
these
he's a serial
literally
murderer of
killing
women.
women. Yeah,
Literally killing
literally.
women. And he got a flood of love letters, 4,000, to the point where his jailers had to request that women stop.
I can
Like,
fix
that
him.
man, if he was ever released, and there was a lot of women who were begging the judge to release him, if he walks out of the prison, he's going to have like women, like they're not even going to be jumping on them. They're just going to be like just like their pussies are a magnet right on his cock. Just at the moment he exits prison, just he's gonna be like a like one of those balls, um those balls in
Stress
like this
balls.
this Japanese game where you Hakatomori or something, where you create this gigantic ball you're sticky, and then you consume everything into a ball.
Oh,
He's
you're
just going to
talking
come out of
about
that
the
prison.
Katamari. The Katamari.
Katamari. He's going to come out of that prison, and he's going to be a Katamari of fuck. Like
Mhm.
literally women humping him. And he is a
Yeah.
serial killer of women.
They might kill him. I mean, they might tear him to
They might
pieces.
hump him to death and love him to death.
Yeah, death by snoo snoo.
Death by snoo snoo, because he's a serial killer. Don't give me this shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ugh.
All right, let me see here. Yeah, so I could play a little bit more of this or jump to the next bit. I'll play more of this.
And I think anyone who's ever tried to befriend like the weird kid has probably had to learn the hard way at least once that a lot of the times the people who are alone for a reason. Of course, not all of them, but I've had this experience myself where you try to befriend somebody, you try to like socially elevate them, you try to help them, and you realize like, oh, this person does not want to be helped, is not helpable, whether that's because there's really something sinister about them, or they have serious moral failings, or they're extremely negative, they have other mental issues that need to be dealt with, or maybe they're just really dense people who are incapable of learning some lessons and fixing themselves in the ways that they need to do in order to be socially acceptable.
So that's really cold. Again, like what if they don't have any life experience? What if they're extremely shy and introverted? What if they're like, not comfortable like around people? Do you just call them psychos and then run away? I mean, I know that women do that. I know that you ladies, if the guy isn't like coming out of the factory, like completely ready to go, everything is set, he doesn't have anything else to do. He's got his business, he's got his Bugattis, he's got his bank account, he's got great credit, he's highly educated, he's super, smart, he's got his own business, he can travel, and he's like, really charismatic, he can sweep your parents off their feet. Unless he comes out like that, you're gonna get the ick, and that's gonna be the end. So I guess this is the thing that Hannah Cox doesn't see is that the problem isn't that with loneliness is not that men aren't doing enough. The problem with it is that women's like tastes, their preferences are completely delusional, like what they expect. And I know that there's plenty of videos out there that you can find of women on the street, like absolute beasts of women, ham beast women, and they're like, what do you want? And they're like 6 inches, 6 figures, 6 feet tall, fucking 6-pack, all of it. They want all of it, no matter what they look like. And that's a problem for men, but it's also a problem for them because they're not going to find that guy. They're probably going to find a fuckboy. He's going to use them and discard them. And then that's it. You're not going to see him again. Then they're going to be hurt. And then they're going to blame all men. Oh my God, men are terrible because the guy that I went after who had his pick of the litter used me like a fucking, cock sleeve and doesn't call me anymore. And it must be the fault of all men and not the fact that I have delusional standards. And I don't even hold myself to standards. Like they'll be like, yeah, I'm like 6 figures in college debt. I have like a shitty job as a barista or in retail somewhere, that doesn't pay much. I'm not management material. I still live at home with my parents because when women live at home with their parents, there's nothing shameful about that. So they can do that and still date, and men can't have an opinion on it because you can't criticize women. So the problem is not at least solely on men. Obviously, women have to be a part of the solution, but the only way that's going to have a chance of changing is if they pull their head out of their own ass and see the world as it is and see their place in it and stop allowing themselves to be, deluded into thinking that they're worth so much more. Stop thinking you're the table. That's the only way. So anyway, that's it.
Yeah. Or just remain deluded, but let's look at other factors as well. It's not just women's insane standards. But they would say, well, I mean, if I don't care about being lonely, then I can have whatever standards I want, right? Of course, women are getting more lonely, more depressed, more miserable. In fact, they're more miserable than men, which, I don't know why Hannah Cox is crowing about this because
they're more medicated. Well, she'll make a video about it and say it's men's fault though.
Yeah, but I mean, lonely men ultimately means lonely women But regardless, I mean, we could talk about women's insane standards, which are probably like partly due to the fact that we have a gigantic government funded campaign, advertising campaign, selling women on the idea that men are poor partners.
And
Like,
that women are amazing, no matter what
yeah.
they look like.
And
Yeah.
the thing is that, well, not just looks, like just take looks out of it, that they're poor partners because they don't do their equivalent fair share in a relationship, that they make terrible parents, that they are a net drain on you emotionally. Like there's the constant drumbeat, and they're abusive and blah blah blah. You know, it's the constant drumbeat of saying that men are not worth investing in if you're a woman. Well, that would tend to cause women to inflate their standards to unbelievable degrees, because they think, well, if I'm going to have all of these deficits, then I better get something worth it, right? But that this is all lies. I mean, she talks about our previous generation, women in the previous generation being hard done by. And we just watched a movie or a series of documentaries on the feminist of the 70s and 80s. And they showed a commercial of, or a video of a woman being put upon by her husband, who was being sort of rude and aggressive about what he expected. But she just walked out of a beautifully modern kitchen with all the modern labor saving devices that was paid for by him. Like in the past, if you had kept your mouth shut, women had a situation where they had a lot of leisure. That's why they started to have soap operas during the day, because women had time to do what they wanted. Right? That's why they had all of this stuff, like a whole bunch of leisure stuff came about in the 50s, because suddenly women had free time, because men's labor and economy took their labor, their domestic labor, from 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, as I keep repeating, but this really critical point, to 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. And maybe if you have kids, you have to deal with them in the morning and the evening when they come back from school. Maybe young kids are quite labor intensive, but eventually you're going to get a lot of leisure time. And women have never forgiven men for it, for giving them a life of leisure. And I can say that just speaks to their resentment, but it may also speak to something else. Maybe the real problem is women don't have a job, like a job that they're not competing with men, being out-competed by men, basically, but their own thing, which they used to have throughout all of human history. They had their own thing, right? They had their own contribution that made them feel more feminine. We don't realize this now, but the ability to spin thread used to be a huge part of a woman's identity and her sense of being a valuable asset. We don't even realize that, because that's gone in history. We don't even understand it anymore. But she considered that an aspect, not necessarily of her physical attractiveness, but of her social attractiveness and her value to her community and her household. It was a part of her femininity, and it was an action and an activity that she engaged in. What action and activity that women uniquely engage in, that doesn't necessarily just fall down to biology, that's theirs, that they haven't, that there is anymore? None. So when I say women never forgave men for giving them all this leisure time, I think it's because deep, deep down, they feel useless. And all of this is coming out of it. And they keep grasping to make themselves feel more and more useless. I mean, what has Hannah Cox done since the beginning of this video? She has disavowed any effect of her actions, which turns her into something that is useless. So she keeps embracing uselessness. And yet it's like it's like the hair of the dog that bit, an alcoholic that's drinking more to recover from the hangover from yesterday. Right? That's what she is. And that's what all women are, who are stuck in this cycle of uselessness. Okay. Boy, that was a lot to say. I don't know if people really get what I'm saying.
No, we get it. Okay, so I'm gonna move to the next thing. I think this is. Let me just check my notes here. Yeah, she's gonna talk about toxic masculinity. I think that we have to hear about that. You know, we all hate this concept. It's garbage. I know, but we got to hear about it. Nova Fan, by the way, Nova Fan 21 sent us a Rumble rant for $1 and says, I love how she believes that both that men have zero incentive to be kind to women at all, and that men will suddenly, after this entire time, will for once be kind to women without any incentive. Yes. There is no incentive, but there should be, and men should do it anyways because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, but
You
even
should.
that, I see what he's saying. She's saying men
Yeah.
are the enemy of women. And if women are cruel enough, finally men will stop being our enemy. That's feminism in a nutshell. Like that is
Mhm.
coffee shop feminism in a nutshell. Men have always been our enemies. And if we're just cruel enough to them, they will stop being our enemies. That's
Yep.
not how it works. Not at all.
No.
Okay.
All right, let's get
There's
into
also
some
super
toxic
child.
masculinity. Oh, is there a super chow? It didn't
Yeah.
come up for me. Hold on.
There's a whole
Richard
bunch that are,
Bier. I know these
yeah,
are music requests, but Richard
let's
Bier gives
skip
us
those.
$5 and says, Allison, if women are allowed to be blamed for anything, the patriarchy will implement a combination of The Handmaid's Tale and The Stepford Wives combined and put all women into positions of forever servitude. Don't forget the singularity. We're going to upload men's consciousness to AI, and the Terminator robots will be the husband that never gets tired and continues to work, but will also be able to accept blame because we'll still be blaming them, you know. So anyway, all right. So toxic masculinity, let's do it.
And I really just don't think we can have a discussion about loneliness without acknowledging that fact. Some of these guys do not need to be coddled or felt sorry for. They need to work on themselves. And in the meantime, women certainly should not be guilted into rescuing them, which again, why are women doing the rescuing here in the first place? Okay.
Wait a
I
second.
just
Wait a
constantly
second.
am being told.
How is it that she can say that men are expected to rescue women from shit? That men should pay attention to women's issues first and foremost, and then suddenly went, well, but no, women shouldn't have to do, because that would mean we're useful. God forbid I ever have a squinge of usefulness in my entire goddamn life as a woman. But it's like she demands what she will not give. You see what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
And why is it? Because maybe women are the only ones who can fix it, Hannah. Maybe. Have you ever considered that?
All right, let's keep going.
Told that men are the natural leaders and protectors and the doers and society's built on their back. But like, yet it's always women that are expected
Maybe it's a
to come in and
lie.
fix their.
Like, oh wait, maybe the
no,
mask is cracking.
she's built the straw man. Now she has to tear it down. We
Maybe the
haven't
mask.
lived in that
Hannah.
world that she's criticizing in a long time.
All right, so does she actually believe that men are the leaders and the strong ones? And then,
No,
no.
she
Okay,
doesn't.
then
She's
if
tearing
she doesn't
down that
believe it,
idea.
then she
Yeah.
doesn't believe it. Then how is that a counter argument to men having vulnerabilities to women?
Exactly. Like she's like I said, she doesn't want the what I think her thesis is that, well, actually I don't care about the male loneliness epidemic, but I can't just come out and say that because I want to get subscribers. So what I'm going to say instead is I'm going to misrepresent men because that's what she's doing. I'm going to misrepresent the male position here and say that, oh, I thought you guys wanted to be big strong men. Ooh, 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 you know, like Tim the Toolman Taylor. And then I'm going to tear that down. Like I'm going to build it up and then I'm going to tear it down and declare victory on it. And that's what she's doing. And then I'm going to claim that now, because of this thing I made up that I'm now criticizing, I can then justify the thing that I always believe, which is that I don't give a shit about men.
It occurs to me just right now that she would not acknowledge men's position as superior, as stoic, as the strong sex, as the leader in any other capacity, but to delegitimate their requests for assistance or help.
Mm-hmm.
She's not gonna recognize that outside of saying, well, how can you be this if you're vulnerable? Like she's not going to go out and say, hey, actually it's men's stoicism and emotional strength and higher tolerance for risk taking that leads them to be the primarily responsible for having my lights on, having electricity, having heating, all of that kind of stuff. No, she's never going to say that. She's never going to acknowledge it. Maybe she did somewhere, but that's what I'm saying. She only acknowledges this in order to insult and belittle men when they ask for something, for their vulnerabilities to be considered, to be brought to the table as a consideration.
Mhm.
So
All
you
right.
don't get to use it unless you acknowledge, Hannah, unless you acknowledge men's superior leadership, strength, and innovation and abilities in any other capacity but negating their right for help, you don't get to appeal to that to negate their right to help. You first have to acknowledge that that is the identity that they have. You see what I mean? Otherwise, it's complete hypocrisy. Okay.
All right.
Problem. It's quite ironic. These are the same red pill bros that fill the comments of women telling them that they'll hit a wall, that they're useless cat ladies, that men should avoid women who go to therapy or take antidepressant medications, which is just so moronic. And they're also the same ones telling men that marriage isn't worth it for them, that they should just choose to be alone, that women bring nothing to the table, that men are better off going it alone. Here's an example of one of those that got
Real quick, I just want to say, yeah, like 20% of millennial women are on SSRIs. It's a crazy high number, and they are very depressed. And the wall is just the truth. It's essentially to like try. Men are trying to shake women into common sense and say, "Look, you don't have a ton of time. You should start thinking about this shit and stop doing the fucking, doing the club, Sex in the City thing that you think is gonna last forever. It's not. Like men are literally trying to warn these women, and they're treating it like an attack, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, but I mean, what are you gonna do? So
a
Yeah,
lot of
well,
traction on Twitter.
okay. But didn't she just get through repeating a tweet where they said, well, men have earned their loneliness because they're unattractive? So she's basically saying that these guys, the red pill, she charges the red pill guys as saying that, women will hit the wall, women aren't worth it, because they don't bring anything to the table because they think they are the table. Therefore, they sort of deserve to be childless cat ladies. Well, she's basically just pointing like the same exact framework applied to men, which she said, yes, queen, to, is now being applied to women. And she's like, how dare?
no, it's actually ridiculous that you would say that, even though the data bears it out.
But not just that,
Okay,
like she's again being a hypocrite because
yeah,
she pointed to a tweet that framed men's loneliness in terms of their own inability or even
I know,
associated them. And now
yeah,
she's saying, no, but the red pill bros. Well, okay, maybe both of you do that. Hannah Cox, maybe you're exactly like a red pill bro, except for men. Now
I think the
what?
red pill bros have a point though. Like this one, breaking up with your girlfriend in order to grind harder is a sacred right that separates the boys from the men. What does he see? Now I know this is like you're gonna get into that no one gets to define what a real man is, but what he's saying is that maybe it's better that instead of guys sulking about the fact that they're lonely, and I get it, I've been lonely, I know how it feels, it's not fun, but maybe if they focus on like their career or building like acquiring capital or whatever it is, that they will at least get more out of that, and they'll be in a position to not, like they're doing something. Essentially, what he's saying is, seize the day, find your purpose, don't worry about the women, disregard women, acquire currency, right? And I don't
Well,
think that's bad advice, like especially if women are like, though, these guys are all dusty and they're not they're not trying hard enough or whatever. And if you get there as a man, then all of a sudden you could be the picky one. You can be like, no, you know what? You still have a home with your parents. You're six figures in debt. I'm not fucking with you.
okay. I just want to pull out a comment from our live stream. Chris
Okay.
Jeaneret says, are women being asked for help? Are they just asking to be able to set, or men just asking to be able to set up men's groups at universities and other places without pushback? I wanted to address that because, yeah, that's the elephant in the living room.
Well,
Hannah
that's
Cox
coming up
said,
in this too, but go ahead.
oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Can we
she
get to
mentions
that?
men's spaces.
Can we
Well,
get to that?
yeah, we can. Do you want me
Or
to
do you
jump
want to
ahead?
finish this? You want more Hannah Cox, not less. Okay. I get it, Brian.
Well,
I get it. You like to suffer.
yeah. No, I mean,
Or maybe you're a completionist. That's fine. I understand. I'm also a completionist.
yeah. Uh Crap. Did I spell it wrong? Hold on a second. I'm just trying to find.
Are you trying to find a
Um,
time code? Okay.
yeah,
Well,
I'm trying to find a time
that is
code.
a really good point, Chris. Because we have seen, and I have seen with my very own eyes, how feminists like Hannah Cox, whenever men try to get together and deal with things like suicide, sexual abuse, domestic violence, all of that kind of stuff, they go through with a baseball bat and start beating the crap out of everything. And it's not, you know what? That's not even metaphorical sometimes. There's somebody who supports us regularly. He actually supported the meetup that we did last month. And he attempted to put together a sexual assault survivors group for men. And it was like a peer counseling support group. And it was in a college campus in Canada. And he was actually confronted by the feminist members of the feminist group on that college campus, one of whom was wielding a crowbar that was painted pink. And I know this because he took me out to his car, and he opens the trunk and he shows me this crowbar, because when the dude was wielding it, like threatening him with it, and he's like, I'm going to beat you if you don't stop this. He actually took it from him. He's like, I don't think you want to do that. And then took it and put it in the back of his car. Never had a problem with having to return it. But it's like, that's the kind of pushback men who are trying to get these kinds of groups together. And I've heard this over and over and over again. It's men are trying to connect with one another. They're trying to help each other with their issues. Women like Hannah Cox are going over and kicking over the tables, kicking down the doors, threatening the men, maybe not physically, but threatening them with being accused of something and getting it disbanded, making policies to exclude men coming together in groups. And it's continuous. Yeah, sure. Maybe men could address this issue themselves if women stopped bullying them when they try.
Yeah,
But
well,
then
women.
again, we have to blame women.
Yeah,
women have to
that
take
would involve that,
responsibility.
right?
All right, did you find your time code?
I'm trying to. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
I want, because there's some. All right, hold on.
I'll do another call out.
690, 656. Like maybe like right. This is about marriage.
Oh, good Lord.
She basically claims that women, I don't have to read this one. She basically claims that marriage continues to benefit men more than women, and men suffer far more when they are alone. So, look, men need marriage, women don't, is essentially what she's saying. Or at least men need it more. Now that women have their own money, their own independence, they can leave you. I think that's true. For a man, a wife may be the only confidant. That's not true for women. Women have much better social support. Yeah, that's the bit I was trying to get to. So let's go like, where is this? Maybe it's like
Or
right
more
here.
when they are alone.
Now, men need marriage more than women need it. The things that men get
No.
from marriage, the sort of stereotypical things, are
this
still
is
really
not true.
important for the man. But
No.
This is
Absolutely
bullshit.
not.
Yeah,
This is bullshit from stem to stern. In the past, it was almost impossible to have a household without a woman either as a housekeeper or as a wife, because the amount of work required to either do in a household or direct in a household required somebody with expertise who could occupy that role. That has been taken over by machines and utilities. So 100% men do not need women in the role that they've had in the past. They don't. The bachelors can live perfectly fine without a female housekeeper and without a wife, because they can get a dryer and washer to do their laundry. They can get a dishwasher to do their dishes. They can order out and get cans of food. I mean, there's everything that women used to do has basically been taken over by industrialization. So 100% women's jobs no longer needed, period. In the home, nope, they aren't. You aren't. You are not needed in the home. And that's, I think, part of the problem that we're seeing because of the uselessness, as I talked about earlier. The other thing is that this idea that women don't get a benefit from marriage is based on a mistake in the statistics. So there was a statistical researcher who looked at, I think, time use surveys, or happiness surveys, like I think it was a general social survey of the US. And he looked at a particular stat of how married people responded to a questionnaire if their spouse was present and not present. And he thought that meant present in the room. It actually meant not present at all, right? Actually the reverse. Or anyway, he made a mistake. The actual truth is that men and women are far happier when they're married. This has been the case for a very long time. The difference between men and women is about 3%, and that's maintained since like the 50s. 3%. 3%. Women have resentment in relationships 3% more than men do, basically. Don't know why. Maybe they're neurotic, but regardless, there's a very small differential, and what they do is they make a big to do about the fact that men may be happier married than unmarried than women are single versus unmarried. However, what they do is they lump in divorced men with always single men, and they compare that to married men. That's not fair. But when you compare married to single, divorced, separated, etc., married is absolutely 100% tops the chart. You could take a married woman, her happiness versus her extreme unhappiness is the absolute inverse of a single woman, especially a single woman with children. Guaranteed. You take a married woman, she's going to be happier, and she's going to have significantly less unhappiness than a single woman, in particular, a single woman with children. So when we encourage women to be single and to be single with children, we are encouraging them to be miserable. I'm going to repeat that. We are encouraging them to be miserable. And the differential between happily married men and it's so small, it's insignificant. And yet these people make such a huge deal out of it in order to create a sense of resentment in women that men get more out of marriage. They don't really get more out of marriage. I think it's more like men are content with less.
Yeah. I'm fairly certain that this clip is from a Modern Wisdom Chris Williamson thing. So I'm gonna play the rest of it because that's how she gets like, yeah, I think this guy's wrong. I don't know what it is with these like so-called like moderate dudes that are like always essentially like shitting on men or shitting on men's problems. But yeah, I don't know.
The things stereotypically a woman was getting from the marriage, she now doesn't actually need that stuff from a man. She can kind of get that herself because society shifted where it's not a case that the woman stays at home and raises the kids all the time. Now the woman's got her own money, her own independence. She can leave you.
I think that's true. For a man, a wife
Yeah,
may
but here's
be
the
the
thing.
only
Okay, but
confidant.
let's stop here. Stop here. Okay. A woman doesn't need a man, but here's the thing. I just explained how if you wanted to have a household in the past, and I'm talking pre-industrial revolution and during parts of the industrial revolution before it was completed, you needed to have a female housekeeper or a woman because there was so much that needed to be done domestically for people to have lighting, for people to have heating, for people to have food that was edible in winter, for people to have clothing, for people to have water, for people. Basic medicine was often done in the home. So you needed a woman if you wanted a household. That's why a lot of bachelors had female housekeepers. I don't know if you noticed that. Like all those crazy like scientists, they all had like female housekeepers. That's why, because you needed a woman's labor to have a household. That means every single man who goes home today to an empty apartment without a woman couldn't have survived a couple centuries ago. I mean, even like you look at ancient Rome, there were laws where only women could get water from the public fountains. I mean, there was reliance. 100%. Men were physically reliant on women's labor in the past. That's gone. And yet somehow that doesn't translate and explain the situation between men and women. So men are no longer physically or materially reliant on women the way they were, but they still seem to be interested in relationships with them. But you say that women are no longer physically and materially reliant on men, and that's why they no longer have to have relationships with them. Well, men are equally free. Like, this is the thing. There wasn't just huge social stigma against bachelors in the past. It was also, in many cases, physically impossible. That's why men went to boarding houses with like that was one of the biggest professions for women in the past, was to run a boarding house, feed, clothe, make sure they have all the utilities and can function, right? That was a thing. You men needed women's labor physically. That's disappeared. And then suddenly we're using the excuse that women no longer need men physically and materially in the same way. And that's why they're not interested. No, it doesn't work. That's not why. Something else happened. Because it's the same thing, same deal for men, even more so. Like, I can't emphasize this enough. Women's labor is no longer needed at all. Men can do it alone. They are completely now independent and autonomous of women in a way that was never the case in the past. Women are more dependent on men in that sense than men are on women. And yet we use that as an explanation why women no longer need relationships with men. Why is that? Like, why is almost exactly the same circumstance for men not needing women physically anymore? Not like, well, I don't, do you get what I'm saying, Brian?
Yeah.
Do you understand the question I'm asking?
You're saying, why is it that we have essentially made women purposeless, or at least made them, like, we've made their lives so comfortable that we no longer need them for anything, and yet they're like blaming men?
Well, okay, let me try it again. These two people are saying that women no longer rely on men materially and physically the way they did in the past. And that explains why women are not interested in relationships with men. But the same thing holds true for men. Men are not reliant on women in the way they were materially and physically in the past. So something else is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if it has anything to do with that aforementioned advertising campaign that's telling all women that men are a bad choice.
Yes.
I wonder if it has anything to do with these two freaking idiots there who are basically saying, well, men are a terrible choice for women. We should tell all women that. And by the way, women aren't getting into relationships with men, not because we're telling them that men are a terrible choice for them, but because they're physically free, even though men are also physically free. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay,
yeah, no, I do.
I got it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so I think that ultimately there are multiple initiatives to essentially control the human population, and they take many different forms, and one of them is essentially to create this dynamic that men and women are not sort of like moving through life together, but rather they are on opposite sides of a battlefield, and everything is being measured by this, like how poorly are women doing compared to men. And so it's creating a dynamic that is essentially antithetical to the nature of men and women, but it's especially against women because they are easier to propagandize than men. So and Hannah Cox is a part of that machine. And the best part about this machine is that it's not like all of these feminists online are getting letters in the mail or emails with their latest orders. They've just been like put through the indoctrination machine of our education system, and then they just let them play it out in the world because they're all convinced like all of the stuff that we're dealing with comes from the first lie, the original lie that men have oppressed women all throughout history and everywhere in the world. And as long as they believe that in any form, then this will never go away. It's the only way that's going to stop, because if you tell them none of this is true, they're going to have in the back of their head this like, oh no, but wait, men used to do this. They used to oppress women. So they're going to do it again if I'm not vigilant at all times, which means I have to see men as my enemy, no matter what, even if it's like men that I love, even if it's men who are my relatives or close friends, because they're still part of that enemy team. Meanwhile, men are like, what the hell's going on with women? Like, they don't understand it because they want to love them and they want to be loved by them.
Mm,
So
yep.
anyway, okay.
Well,
So here's
like I
yeah,
said,
yeah.
basically what's happened is that men have been freed from women's physical labor and from needing a woman materially, and somehow that translates to women being freed from men. No, that's not what happened.
Yep.
I mean, technically, technically the world that we live in, there's a lot of bachelors from like the 19th century who would freaking love it because they're like, wow, I don't have to deal with women at all. Sign me up. Maybe we need to get back to that. Maybe men need to cultivate that mentality. After all, that's what Hannah Cox is telling you to do. Cultivate the mentality of the 19th century bachelor, where they actually held a funeral for every man that got married and basically said, well, you're dead now. And also we're extremely happy at any opportunity to remove women from their lives. I mean, that's the thing. That's the way you do it. And Hannah Cox has given her stamp of approval on men taking that kind of extreme approach to no longer relying on women for anything in terms of social recognition or approval. I'm not sure if she really is going to like the world that results from that. But hey, she wants it because she doesn't want to take any responsibility for the world that exists now.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Let's keep going.
So, yeah, I think men need to wake up and have the wisdom to realize when they are being sold a crock of shit because they are here. Companionship is important. It is beautiful and it is desirable. And the problem modern men are having is that companionship is changing. The equation is not the same as it used to be. They used to get a lot more for a lot less because they were operating in a depraved and oppressive system like slavery. And now, just like the former plantation owners had to do.
He is absolutely full of shit here. She's not a libertarian, she's a feminist, and she's a feminist extremist because they're all extremists because they all believe the same crap. Women never oppressed women. Never.
Yep.
This
That's
just
exactly
didn't
right.
happen.
It's a lie.
There were classes of tribal groups that oppressed other classes of tribal groups, and sometimes it was men enacting the oppression on the women of those other, but it's not along men and women. It doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right. Let's play some more.
They have to actually learn to create value on their own merit in order to obtain quality companionship. And the stark reality is that a lot of them just don't want to do the work. I saw someone make a really great and obvious
You know
point.
what?
Yeah, they don't want to do the work.
Right. And what work do women have to do to be quality companions? That's right, nothing. Unless they're trying to stay in a situationship with a guy who is revolving through a whole bunch of other women. Like, I've seen that. And then they apparently are attempting to attain a Buddha-like level of being completely detached from their relationships, which is, why would you even want a relationship like that? But regardless, what do women have to do? That's right, nothing. They just have to exist. What a pathetic existence.
They are the table.
Yeah, but what a pathetic existence to be
It is pathetic.
table.
I wouldn't want to be a table. That's like a curse.
It's a pathetic mentality that you have nothing to strive for, nothing to earn, nothing to achieve. You're just an object. And it's so funny because women like this will project this onto men. Oh, you think we're objects? Well, I'm the table. Who thinks who is an object?
Right. Okay.
When we talk about these kinds of issues, having that same recognition that nobody's coming to save you. You're not a child. You're an adult now. And if you want to have a beautiful and rich life, you're going to have to build it. Okay. You're going to have to actually do some things, do some work in order to achieve that. It's not.
Let me finish this bit. Hold on.
It's going to fall into your
We're
lap.
listening to an evolutionary dead end. I mean, I'm also an evolutionary dead end, but at least I try.
Well, I mean, like, it doesn't have to be a biological outcome. Like, if we can bring people together, then we've done our part. So, but anyway.
Fortunately, I really think that a victim mentality is like quickly replacing true masculinity. And I'm going to keep repeating this question throughout this episode because it's just such a like glaringly obvious one that needs to be asked. But if men are the leaders and the protectors and the doers, why aren't they doing something about their own problems in society? Now,
Okay.
So she's saying that men are the leaders, the protectors, and the doers. Outside of this way of shaming them for their problems, Does she believe that? Does she truly believe that? I thought she said that women don't need men. Well, they do need men if men are the leaders, the doers, and the protectors.
Right, but
If
that, again, she's
you
being tongue
believe
in cheek.
that,
She's saying, if you're a big bad man, then why do you need help? That's what it is. It's not that she actually believes that they are those things. She is
yeah, but she
like,
is appealing to what the thing is that she is constructing this is men's identity, and she's appealing to that identity to nullify their vulnerabilities. So yeah, I'm sure she's full of shit, but she is actually saying that this exists. Otherwise, you can't appeal to it. And what happens if men aren't like the protectors, the doers, whatever? What happens? We
yeah.
all cease to exist. But what
Well,
I'm saying is she's appealing to this identity. If she then says, "Oh yeah, well, I don't believe you men are the protectors and doers and all of that, and the strong ones. I don't believe that. But if you don't, but why aren't you being that? That I don't believe that you are, is what you're saying."
yeah.
And she's like saying, "Well, if you don't act in this way, you're not going to be this thing that I don't believe you are in the first place."
Also, like, why does she think men aren't trying to solve their own problems? Why does she think men are, victimizing themselves? Like, where does she get that from? Where is this happening? I mean, I know that when men try to address their problems, nothing that is available to them helps. Like the therapy is anti-male, psychological help is anti-male. Men have a hard time getting jobs because women have essentially taken most of the jobs that men would have, and they used their victimhood status. They use the Me Too movement. They use affirmative action policies, preferential hiring practices to get these positions. And then they literally use top down, institutions to position themselves to where they make money that men could be making. And then they point and laugh at those men, but they also blame them for that. They blame them for the system that benefits women. I don't just mean like all the shit that men are doing to keep society running, to make it to where white collar jobs are, actually like a thing that women can have, to create HR departments, whatever it is that women do. Not only that, but like even the places where men could be getting jobs, they're giving it to women because Me Too movement, because of unions, because of preferential practice, because of all of these like initiatives. Let's get women in the workforce. Let's get women in the workforce. And they get them in, and the women, they're delusional. They think they got there because they're good or smart or capable or whatever, but there's no way of knowing because there's all this preferential shit going on. And then they point at the men who are having a hard time getting a job that they, probably put themselves in debt to like learn the skills for. And they're saying you guys are losers because obviously if a woman gets a job in middle management, she's going to be eyeballing the dude like that's in the fucking C-suite, the guy that's like sitting at the board, because she won't settle for men below that because those men are not people. So we've created the conditions for women to be this picky, and we have also limited men's access to be able to just like get a job that's decent. And then Hannah Cox says, you guys aren't working hard enough. So she supposedly is a libertarian, right, that believes in meritocracy, but she doesn't seem to have a problem with the fact that women are getting a leg up on an institutional level due to activism, due to government grants and programs, and big corporate advantages and initiatives. Corporations, by the way, not capitalist entities at all. They are funded by the government. They're essentially fascist. That's the truth about them. So Hannah Cox, bullshit libertarian, doesn't see what's actually going on here. And women, they're not going to be able to. It's not going to be easy to get them to see that they are not probably deserving of the position they have, and therefore they are looking at men that they also probably don't deserve, and that men are struggling and nobody cares because they're not getting any of this help. That's why is this so many men are homeless? Is because they're losers? Like, why is that?
Yeah, I think what you're essentially saying is that we collectively decided to put in place a basically slip and slide to the finish line for women.
Yeah.
But we neglected to recognize that women judge men by what they themselves achieve. They don't give what they achieve to men. They judge men by what they themselves achieve, which leads to a lot of men losing out. But as a society, we've decided to artificially give artificial achievement to women, essentially, which is locking a lot of men out of the marketplace. And that definitely isn't their responsibility. They are victims of it. Just like any group of people who is locked out of achievement institutionally is a victim of it. Like, that's the freaking hilarious thing, is she talks about men, the situation of women and men enslaving women in the past. Absolute bullshit, by the way. Absolute bullshit. She's so freaking ignorant of history. She should go read this short story called, I think, Mumu in Russian. It's a Russian short story dealing with the oppression of Russian serfs. And she should internalize the role of female aristocrats in that oppression and realize that it was never a situation of men enslaving women, but families enslaving other families, tribes enslaving other tribes. And until she is educated, she can't speak on this in the slightest. But I see that we're finally getting to Chris's comment. Is this a front-loaded video so that there's not much in the back, or are we going to go through this whole damn thing?
Well, we could do this in.
No.
You don't want to do two parts?
No. Okay.
No, I
I
get
don't
it.
want to do it in two parts. Do we have to do?
All right. No, I mean there's like a couple things. There's this
Okay.
one. Well, let me just play this, okay?
All right.
Now, speaking of virality, this post blew up on Twitter this week. It has 26.7 million views as of this recording.
Who cares? You're making an appeal to like consensus. That's stupid. Like, I don't care how many millions of people agree. Like, if somebody just posted a picture of fucking, Thomas the Tank Engine and it got like 1 billion views, like, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything.
Well,
So,
it means
anyway.
that this is a commonly held opinion by a lot of women.
It does,
doesn't
but
mean
she
it's
thinks
correct.
she thinks this is an own
It's not
because so many
correct.
women agree. It must be true, but let's give a listen.
And it is a woman who's responding to a post about men's mental health matters, obviously referring to the male loneliness epidemic and other issues around men's health. And she said, if men's mental health mattered to men, they'd be creating safe spaces for themselves and each other. They'd be pursuing therapy and creating community. Instead, they perpetuate the very behaviors, systems that have handicapped them in the first place, refuse to support or create community amongst each other, severely damage the women in their lives who try to care for them, and attack women online for not doing the work for them in replies to tweets like the one below. LOL. And it's worth noting that a lot of men agreed with her, okay? Like, it's very easy
Doesn't
to see
matter.
for people.
Yeah, who cares? Like that. How does this woman know anything about what she's saying? Like, she just assumes that men are just like beating up their girlfriends and like calling women cunts online, like instead of like forming safe. Men can't form spaces. Like, women invade them all the time. What are you talking about?
Let's finish let's see what the rest she has to say. I sent you a file that I'd
Yes.
like to play after we're done.
Okay.
If
Online,
possible.
the men that are truly masculine, that are truly healed, that like have it together, versus those that so truly do not. But this guy quote tweeted her, and he said, "I was raised with a pretty traditional idea of
Well, shouldn't
masculinity,
the
but that was at
men?
least rooted."
Okay, but wait a second. If they're truly healed, truly masculine, and truly with it, shouldn't the men who are already over the bridge be helping the men who aren't, not mocking them? Because the thing is that what's really interesting is she talks about how the ideal here is that men help men create this community, and then she praises these men who are masculine and healed and with it, and the way that she differentiates them is that they're mocking and belittling the men that she says aren't healed. Well, where is the community? Like, shouldn't, by your own estimation, Hannah Cox, shouldn't these men be helping the men who are broken? In order to be truly good men, shouldn't they be creating this community of healing instead of belittling?
think that's asking too much. Well, obviously they don't want to address anything. They just want to complain.
They just want to
Surprise,
tea Tom
surprise. Yep.
into a problem. They want men
All
to
right.
be lonely, even if it means that women are lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I'll play some of this, but I'm
Let's
gonna look
no,
for the next section.
let's finish. Let's finish this time code and then play what I sent you. I think
All
if that's
right.
okay.
All right. Yeah, it's fine. Okay.
And taking responsibility for yourself, your mental and physical health, the well-being of your loved ones. All I see from the modern manosphere is victimization and grievance peddling. And I
So
think he's
men
so
in
absolutely
Cameron's world never get taken care of by their loved ones.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so
Well,
that's
the
the
women,
standard.
but women don't. Women shouldn't have to expend the emotional labor in order to take care of
No, but
those
that's
men.
the standard.
So
Okay, so the
yeah.
standard is, as Hannah says, that men be the leaders, men be strong. They take care of their loved ones. They don't expect care from their loved ones. All right, Hannah, get on your knees and submit. You want that kind of man? You be the kind of woman that man deserves. A woman who zips it and listens to his leadership. A woman who submits to his protection, and a woman who understands that he is her moral leader, right? Are you going to be that kind of woman? Because this is the big issue here. This kind of Christian attitude of men are in charge, they sacrifice, they protect, they provide. Yeah, there was something said to women. They had a side in this, and that is that you submit. Are you prepared to do that, Hannah? If you're not, you can shut the fuck up about expecting men to uphold their side of the bargain while you shit on yours. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. Let's
All right.
finish.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay.
your loved ones. All I see from the modern manosphere is victimization and grievance peddling. And I think he's so absolutely correct. I've been a mental health advocate for some time. I obviously do
Full of
care
shit.
about men's mental health, but
You
I
do not.
also
No, she doesn't. She doesn't even know what the absolute state of mental health services are for men or women for that matter.
She has
Because I don't think
zero interest in this except to
no.
deny it as a problem.
Yeah, except to deny it as a problem and call it men playing the victim. Ha ha. How do you like that? I'm accusing you of the thing that I'm doing.
I need to
Um.
I need to creep back in frame. I think I'm there.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, I've done my
It's
creeping for
okay.
October.
So I know that we're running out of time. We got 10 minutes, but she does go into men's spaces a little bit
Well,
here, and I think
we
this
can do
is
the full, like you said, 8 p.m. your time. If you want to finish this up, I'll do it.
yeah.
Let's just
Okay.
freaking
Well,
do
it's
it.
only 7. All right, let's keep going a little bit longer.
cannot stand how corrosive the mentality is in that sector for people to come in and think that their mental health is an excuse for them to be a victim or to have other people come in and take care of them or to be coddled. Like, no,
What?
your mental health is still your
Wait,
responsibility.
wait, what? Oh, but your allegation of historical oppression gets your right to be a victim? So if a man has right now a problem, he doesn't get the right to be taken care of or regarded as a victim. But because you allege that women way back when that you were descended from were oppressed by men way back when, you get to be a victim and you get to silence. What a bunch of motivated reasoning.
I thought you were going to say something a lot naughtier, but that turned out okay. All right, let's play some more.
Yes.
When you are an adult. Okay. Just like if you're an adult and you break your arm, you have to do what you need to do to get it fixed. The same is true when it comes to men's mental health. And the reality is, not only are they not doing the things that they need to do to fix their mental health, especially like go to therapy for the love of God, they're often demeaning
I hope
people,
that one
women.
day she puts so much Botox in her fucking face that she can't move her mouth.
She's like, it's funny. People like this, they take so much of what we have in our modern society for granted. Like, why don't you just go to the doctor store and get it fixed? Like, it's like it's a little unrealistic. Like, and again, these services are not a guarantee. It's like take the I feel better pill and everything will be fine. It's like, how do we know that even works? And again, the psychological industry is not friendly to men and men's particular needs. Literally, we have to talk to people who have like a different approach because men have their own way of healing. And Hannah Cox, because she doesn't really care about this stuff, doesn't even know about that. She's like, we just need more male therapists. No, we need more therapists that know how to work with men. They don't have to be men, but they should know how to work with men.
Yes.
Who do those things. It's madness. And again, there were a lot of men who agree with this, who pointed it out. There were men who said that, if men were really concerned about men's mental health issues, then they would be talking about the actual solutions that we need in order to address it. Like, we need more male therapists. That is something that if you work in mental health care. There are not new.
Yeah, but what if men trying to get into therapy are like getting gatekept by women? Like, what if they're because like what, like it's like saying we need more male teachers. Well, why aren't men being hired as teachers? Like, what's the attitude about men? And don't blame patriarchy or toxic masculinity, because it's women that are calling the shots, or at least they're involved in the process. So why is it? And what if a man has the balls to go into therapy and say, you know what, I don't like the way you guys are doing things. I'm going to do things a different way. Just like several of the people that I've interviewed, Phil Mitchell, John Bailey, and I had a guy really recently, Seeger. They are all like, yeah, men's mental health or the mental health industry is not good for men. It's probably exasperating their problems. So if you're just going to sit here and say, just go to the thing that fixes it, go get fixed, just go. It's like, you don't know if that even works. You're just saying, well, you didn't go to the thing that fixes it, so you must not want to be fixed. Yeah, it's not working for women. It's not even working for women. Like, if they're on SSRIs all the time and they're like, like cutting themselves and shit, like maybe that doesn't work for women or men. Maybe there's something wrong with it. No. Men are playing the victim online and they're harassing and attacking women with their words.
So we need censorship. Okay, let's
Yeah, we need to monitor their spaces, essentially. Okay.
Nearly enough male therapists out there. I do think it's very important for men to have access to male therapists. Just like for me as a woman, it's important to have access to female gynecologists. Okay, there's just some things you want to see the same gender for, but we don't talk about those.
Maybe that's just you.
Isn't that weird? Like, she didn't say female therapists. She said female gynecologists. It's almost like men's mental health is uniquely, like mental health itself is uniquely male.
I don't know. Just
right,
I just want to finish this freaking thing. Oh, is it still?
I'm gonna. Okay. No, we're gonna get into the spaces
thing. The effing Boy Scouts was no longer allowed to be male exclusive because women didn't like the exclusivity, but the Girl Scouts can continue to be Girl Scouts. Women don't get to shift any blame on the state of men's mental health onto men. Screw you sincerely. Another person said men had Star Wars, women invaded. Men had sci-fi, women invaded. Okay. Men had video games, women invaded. Men had D&D, women invaded. Men had comics, women invaded. Men had men's only clubs, women invaded. The only thing men have anymore is either solitary or you fuss at us for it. And first and foremost, I would just say, I'm pretty sure women are the ones who are mostly having our spaces invaded by men.
Her attitude,
women are the ones.
Attitude is unbelievable. I can't fucking stand it. She's like triumphalist about this. Good Lord. Like, how does she have a male partner?
She treats conversations like Uno. Like, guys put all their stuff out there and she's just like, reverse pick 4 or whatever. She's like Uno reverse card. Women have it worse. Because she's basically saying women's spaces are being invaded because, bathrooms and all that and like women's sports. But it's like, yeah, but that's what she's saying. Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's keep going then.
All right. Let me go back a little bit.
That's her thesis.
Well, men aren't joining women's fucking, like knitting clubs. They're not doing that.
So she literally says that men are trans women are in women's bathrooms.
She doesn't say that explicitly.
Because she doesn't want to get hit.
She doesn't want to get hit by the. Yeah, she doesn't want to get hit by the troon force.
Is the men's spaces being invaded? Does it ever come up again in the time codes?
A little bit. Yeah, I
All
mean, like
right.
a little bit.
Women
Okay,
are the ones
if
who are
that's the
mostly
case,
having our spaces invaded by men
no,
these
you're
days.
not.
Okay,
No, you're
Yeah.
not. Invited by whom? I mean, even a woman recently even forced a gay resort to let her in. For what? God only knows. Presumably to schlick to the men in the resort. Like, what the frick? Why would you?
Yeah,
Anyway,
we covered that
to
one.
creep on
There was
them.
like a resort that was only for men. Basically, anytime for any reason, men say we're gonna have this thing. And by the way, the guy complaining about Star Wars and video games, 100% right, but not because men were saying these things are exclusive. It wasn't even that women were enjoying them. It was that there were women who came in and they were like, I like this place, but I think you need to change everything about it, and I'm just gonna, you know what? Actually, I'm just gonna burn it all down. Like they have literally, there are videos because I cover this on my channel. There are videos of these activists that are like, we have to burn this down because it makes us uncomfortable. And that was a space that men spent billions of dollars into to like make it into the gigantic industry that it is. Specifically talking about video games. But it applies to everything. Like all of it's been changed and feminized, and you're not allowed to point it out because that's blaming women. And of course, that again, Hannah Cox doesn't think that counts because that's something that she gets to. Is that like video games are not for men, it's for children or something like that,
Oh
which
yeah,
is
'cause I
really
think it's an Alex Psych thing. But here,
brain
I
dead.
think,
Yeah, she does bring up Alex Syke. That's
yeah,
a surprise
I figured that
cameo.
she would be a fellow traveler.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going. Let's finish the
All right.
spaces, and then I'll show the video.
Okay, let's do it.
it's been like a whole like talking point on the right for some time. But in all seriousness, I would also point out that
Oh,
when
you're
we
right.
do
She's
talk
talking about
about like
trans women.
men in
Yeah, you're
traditionally
gonna blame
female
now
space,
men for trans women,
Yeah, men are to blame for trans women. Yeah.
not the liberal women who embolden them. No, it's men who had absolutely fucking nothing to do with any of it.
Yeah. And again, we're talking about what 0.05% of the population, but that means men invading women's spaces now. She's just using that like whatever. It doesn't matter.
Let's keep going.
spaces when it comes to the context of relationships, women are not upset about that because I don't think women hate men in the same way that a lot of men seem to hate
Wait,
women
wait,
and
wait,
don't
wait, wait,
need
wait. Women are not upset at trans women going into their spaces because liberal women are emboldening them. Like, what is this convoluted nonsense?
Let me read that again. So it says, I would also point out that when we do talk about men in traditionally female spaces, when it comes to the context of relationships, women are not upset about that because I don't think women hate men in the same way that a lot of men seem to hate women.
They don't, like,
Yeah.
honestly, statistically, men do not hate women in the same way that women hate men. Like that, about 5% of men have any kind of toxic sexism towards women. About 7.5% of women have toxic sexism towards men. I think that's probably a low ball number, but whatever. It is actually a little heartening to know that women like this are in an extreme minority, except they seem to be incredibly vocal on the internet. But regardless, this is bullshit. Okay. Toxic
Hmm.
sexism is a problem among women more than men. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Why I, it's completely dishonest to blame the whole trans issue on men and not liberal women. Like,
Yeah.
okay, is this the end of what about?
One more thing. One more thing.
Okay,
does
all
want
right.
to go. He does it literally just out of love. But
Okay.
like that's not
Hold on.
something that would upset me, okay? RFH, who's one of my favorite Twitter accounts, responded to all of this and said, "You're still allowed to watch sci-fi, play video games, and read comics with your exclusively male friend groups. Male spaces haven't been invaded because somewhere some woman is reading Dune." Just
You
such a
don't.
great
Okay,
point.
all right, that's it. How long have we fought this fucking fight? It was more than just women being able to read already existing material. Suddenly, it had to be reworked for their sensibilities. Now, the material no longer exists in the form that it did. It's like saying that, oh, women went into your men only buffet, and they took out all of the food that you had before, and they replaced it with lettuce and glass noodles. right? It's all lettuce and glass noodles. But how are you harmed by that? You got rid of all the fish and chips, all the burgers, everything. They replaced it with lettuce and glass noodles. But really, you can still eat at this buffet. You can still enjoy eating at this buffet. It's fundamentally different. You can't enjoy the same things because they are gone. They are corrupted and they are crap. And they're not just crap on the level of bringing in DEI, like bringing in woke crap and BlackRock and all the diversity and shit. They are crap in that you guys declare against merit itself. Yeah, and also women like you, Hannah Cox, do not take criticism. And your fellow travelers do not take criticism. You don't know how to use criticism to improve yourselves. So all of these women who didn't just get into the audiences of Dune, where the women always watch Dune, idiot. They always watch Star Wars, idiot. Women were always part of the audiences. The difference is a certain subcategory of women who are so fragile and incapable of taking criticism that they do not develop any kind of merit, got in there and shat their Tumblr fan fiction all over these properties. Right? And now men can't enjoy what they enjoyed. Just because you say it's a buffet doesn't mean it's the same damn food. The buffet is still open, doesn't mean it's the same damn food.
All right.
So dishonest.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Let me see. Here we go. So she says, she does go into like how video games are actually. Well, let me play some.
Like, just because women are sometimes interested in traditionally male interests doesn't mean that your spaces are being invaded. In fact, most of these things that men are listing are very solitary hobbies, if you can even call them hobbies, right? Like, these are loser activities. You're sitting in your basement and playing video games or watching sci-fi, and you're mad that somewhere some woman is also doing that. This is not about men's adulthood.
This is complete dishonesty. They're not mad some woman is enjoying their solitary hobby somewhere. They're mad that women like you, who are terrified of criticism, terrified of any kind of expectation or being held to any kind of standard, slid their way into their media and fucked everything because they are fucking failures and losers, and they do not know how to write or create stories or write characters or anything. And they don't know how because they cannot tolerate criticism, just like you can't tolerate criticism, Hannah. And that's what this entire video is about. You could replace this with a stick figure of yourself saying, Hannah hates being told no.
Yep. It's true. All right, I think that's basically it. She calls video games loser activities and that they're solitary, which is bullshit because a lot of men form community doing these things. Like, that's what it's about. Like, I primarily, when I game, I like to game with people, with friends. That's like how you get the most joy out of it. So it is inherently community oriented, and yet women like this are going in and they're saying, you know, I don't like any of this stuff. Can we just change all of it? So, like, who is the invader here? Who's the one ruining everybody's fun? So, okay, let me open up your.
The funny thing is that like women were always part of these fandoms. It wasn't until the Tumblrinas spilled into the writers' room that people had a problem. And that's what's being called out, that fundamentally they took away the old chefs that made the shit that the food that everybody liked, and they brought in the new chefs who create crap, who shit on a plate and say, hey, this is moose. Enjoy.
Yep. All right. So let's say, okay, I want to look at some of the comments under her video, and the thing I want to come back to, there's what? Go ahead.
Okay. Should we not show the video of?
Yeah. I got it ready. I got it ready. Do you want me to show the video after? Because I wanted to tell you guys about some of the comments. I also wanted to tell you that later on in this video, she brings up this guy He does a whole thing. I think this could be its own video, this one here. And he
Yeah.
basically just shits on men for being men for like, the remainder, like 8 minutes. This guy's white dudes for Harris is what I think he's
Okay,
about.
but
But
here's
anyway,
my problem with shitting on men. If you're going to appeal to the idea that men are the leaders and the strong ones and et cetera, then you need to accept that that's their identity and it's not women's identity.
yes.
So you can't use that identity to shit on men and then discard it when it's not convenient for you. So you want to show this, or did you want to look at the comments underneath her video?
I wanted to show, I'm not going to play this video. We could maybe do this. This could be
Yeah,
its own
another time.
video. Yeah.
Yeah, another
But
time.
I wanted to show you guys the comments. So here are the comments from people. I think it's mostly men. First one, as a man, all I can say is leave me alone. But I mean, that's it. That's basically saying no, which is of course not allowed. As a single man, I can tell you, I don't need a relationship with a woman to feel loved. Most women don't give a damn about a man's feelings like yourself. Single doesn't mean lonely. We are lonely by choice because we want peace. A man will give up his happiness for his family. A woman will give up her family for her happiness.
Mm.
Women like
Wow.
this annoy me. What are you babbling about? Speaking on something you've never experienced as if you know what you're talking about is funny as hell. Let's see.
Wow,
Seems
she's
like women
getting
are
dragged.
Yeah, she's getting dragged. She's getting dragged. I can't look at the like-dislike ratio, but here's another one. Let me see. I can't for the life of me understand why you thought comparing modern men to former slaveholders was an apt or constructive analogy. Your understanding of the women invading male spaces argument is also so out of touch, it's baffling that you'd even include it. You act as though guys don't like it when women want to join in their activities,
Oh.
but that's just demonstrably untrue, which I mean,
Ooh.
obviously, like a woman who enjoys the same thing a man enjoys as it exists is a good thing. But a woman who wants to change everything is a problem because she doesn't actually like the thing that she's participating in. And when they
Yes.
pretend that they do and they actually don't, it's even more infuriating because they're being blatant in their dishonesty. Anyway,
Yep. Yep.
you then turn
You-
around and describe them as loser activities where you play video games alone in your basement. What are you, 60? Games are highly social experiences these days. They're played by everyone, even women, and they're played everywhere. Yeah, like literally the biggest entertainment industry in all of history is video games. Like financially and in terms of its scale. Sorry, but that's like it's just true. Anyway, the argument that is made isn't woman play game, woman bad. It's frustration with certain women who come into a hobby, claim to love it, and then proceed to denounce everything about that hobby that came before as problematic, if not evil. Teal dear, if you want good advice about and two men, go watch The Authentic Observer. I guess that's like another channel. So yeah, I mean, and they're saying, that they're calling her a liar and all this other stuff. So at least the comments give me some hope.
Okay, I got you the screenshot. Go take a
What?
look. Although I see that her subs are increasing exponentially, of course.
Screenshot of what?
Yeah, I got her screenshot of the ratio of how she got ratio.
Okay. Hold up.
Just throw it up there.
Let me throw it up there. Yeah, I got to share the screen too. So,
Okay, and how? Yeah, look at that.
yeah, there it goes. That's the ratio.
676 up, 1.1K
1,000.
down.
Yep.
And if you're watching this, you might want to voice your opinion as well.
Yeah, I
Know
put a
what it
link
really
to the
does,
video in the description. So if you want to like give her your 2 cents, it looks like she's getting dragged in the comments. Because again, the thing is she's like men should have their own things and their own spaces and they should be doing their own thing. But I'm going to determine which of those things is actually deserving of of my approval. So she's basically saying, I will decide what is appropriate for you to do with your spare time, men, how you socialize. So she's trying to define men, basically, as usual. That's what they always do. So you want me to play that video for you now?
Yeah, sure. Are we done with the time codes in her screed?
Well, yeah, we
Or-
could be done with
No.
that.
How much more? Is there
No,
anything left?
I mean, Allison, it's not like this is the as usual, these videos are They look like they're an ocean, but they're a puddle in terms of their depth. They are. It's an ocean of water, but a puddle of depth, and it's always the same arguments. So like,
Mm.
yeah, I'm sorry, but we're not gonna get a pearl of wisdom out of this. We're just gonna find corn and shit. And that's the best we can do. But we can respond to the other parts of the video like later, which is basically responding to a whole different person that she, because Hannah Cox doesn't even have the ability to come up with her own unique arguments. She'll just lean on other people unless you want to hear her talk about Alex Psych. But I think you already know it's the same thing that he said about external locus of control and all that. So, as fellow travelers, we're not going to get anything new out of this.
Yeah, well, this is what I have to say about external locus of control. Sometimes it's a lie you tell yourself, and I'm going to use an example. There's a lot of alcoholics who say that they could quit anytime. That's assuming an internal locus of control in order to excuse the fact that you have an external locus of control. So you just pretend like everything is within your power, so you can engage in a form of denialism about the things that aren't, or the things that you're not addressing. So Alex Psych is full of shit. He is one of those people who has no insight.
Yep.
In my opinion.
All right. Oh yeah, for sure. You want to watch? Well, I think he's just engaging in containment. I think that most of this backlash coming from supposed, MRA types or MRA adjacent people or dating coaches or Hannah Coxes or whatever. I think most of this stuff is like a kind of containment. Like, oh, the men's rights talking points, they're like getting out into the ether. I heard a guy, I was in line at like Walmart and there was a guy in front of me and he said the word misandry. Something has to be done because these talking points can't get out. And I think that's what it is. Hannah Cox is engaging in containment. Trigonometry engages in containment. Lauren Southern is engaging in containment. Fucking, it's all over the
I thought
place.
she disappeared because of the whole Russian collusion thing.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen her in a while, but the last time she made a video, it was essentially containment. It was like the red pill bros are scary. They're just as bad as the opposite. I mean, fucking Natty is doing it. Like, it's everywhere. And I'm like, let it all out. Let's let it all out. Whatever happens, happens. It's either that or maybe you risk the point of men just like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, so.
Hey, how's this for a thought? Okay. All right. Since women like Hannah Cox don't want to take blame, I'll take blame for everything on behalf of women. I'll take it all.
Go ahead.
Just blame me. Just blame me.
So
I am to blame. I'm going to take it all of it.
Is also containment. Chris Williamson, containment. All of these guys that talk about men's issues, but they're doing it in this kind of like, feminism of the past and patriarchy of the past, or in that other country over there, whatever, whoever it is, they're all engaging in containment, especially if they know the talking points are true and they know these phenomenons are real and they know that these are issues that could be, but they're so afraid. They're so afraid of the truth getting out because they don't know what the consequences of it will be. And so, I don't care. I'm okay. I think that we'll all be better off with the truth no matter what. There'll be suffering, but I mean, if we lie to ourselves, we're going to suffer way more.
Yeah, we're going to suffer anyway.
So,
okay. Yeah. All right. Here's my deal. Okay. Since I've just watched however long of this woman just evading responsibility and criticism. All right. All of the blame that you want to heap or people are heaping on women, just heap it on me. And I want to see what happens. Like, blame me.
You're gonna live?
I don't know. Like, what will happen? Who knows? I want all men listening to me to blame me. And I want to see what happens when a woman is blamed. Like, for everything. Like, what's going to happen? Like, if you all blame me, I'll take the blame. I'll take Hannah Cox's blame. I'll take Shira's blame. I'll take all the female dating strategies blame, all of it, because these women are terrified of this happening to them. I want it to happen to me. I want you all to blame me for this shit, and I want to see what happens as a result. Because they're terrified. They think that that means that women are going to be put in chains, that they are going to be back in the kitchen, that they'll have their voice removed. Well, I want you to do this. Like, if you're a man listening, blame me for this shit. I want to see what happens. Blame as hard as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see.
Nova fan gave us another super Rumble rant that I didn't get to, so I'm gonna read it really quick for $1. And he says, "Correct me if I'm wrong, but do Muslim communities have a male loneliness problem like the West does? If not, I hope someone in her comments brings that up." No, I think they do. I think there is like some, but like that's how you create jihadists, right? So it kind of depends on the country, but like a lot of these guys that are like suicide bombers and jihadists are lonely men. They don't have women. That's why they're promised women as a reward. So, all right, you want me to play that video? Oh, Allison, you're muted for some reason. I can't hear you. Allison.
Sorry, I was muted. If you're like, we're done, there's nothing more to this shallow puddle.
Yeah, we can play this thing.
Yeah, let's play it. So she's essentially said that, well, it's men, women are not to blame for the fact that men don't have spaces to address their issues.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, you are directly to blame for the fact that feminism is definitely directly to blame for the fact that men don't have spaces to address their own issues.
Oh, and we have this video. This is kind of a throwback. All right, here we go.
It is. I know, but
Sharing
it
it
needs
now.
to be brought out. It needs to be remembered.
It does. It does. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Richard Bier gave us a $5.
Wait, this is the wrong video. Damn it. Just give me a second.
You didn't send me the right one? What the hell?
Oh, for God's sake. My thing just makes these like little clips. I don't want it to, but it keeps doing this. I used Wondershare Filmora, and it creates these tiny little clips.
Let me read the super chow real quick while you're doing that.
Read it.
Richard Bier, $5. Allison, would it be worth it to travel to the United States just to jello wrestle Hannah Cox in a submission?
Don't make me puke.
Classic Richard Bier.
Yeah, comment. Making it weird.
Making it weird. All right. So what are you sending me? Are you sending me the image again?
Yeah, it should only take a few minutes. And I mean, if you're out there and you want to send us a message or you want to make a request, do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Now, Richard Bier actually requested this Hannah Cox video, and so far a lot of the people who have been requesting videos have been some of our higher supporters for the month. So Richard Bier is probably going to put in like $500 for this. Which goes towards the rest of the show and making sure that we can fund that. So if you do send a request,
are you sure this isn't the video? Because this is literally like the feminist protesting Janice's talk.
Yes,
it's 15 seconds.
This is no. That's 15 seconds. I just sent you a new one that's 54 seconds. That's correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you're interested in sending us a request, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. We'll still sort of determine whether or not we do it, but I know Nova Fan, for example, has sent through one a while back, and it just sort of was like, I guess, bad timing because we were doing the meetup, but perhaps we shall get to it. And if you want to sort of arrange like a sponsorship in exchange for a request, just get on the Discord, badgernation.online, talk to me about it. And again, send those requests to feedthebadger.com/justthetip or those comments on anything that we've talked about. It's the very best way to tip us and send whatever you want to send to us in terms of a comment. Do you have the video now?
Yeah, I have it. I'm ready.
Okay, let's go. These are feminists shutting down men's issues events. This tweet by Rova BTW says simply, men's mental health matters. Denisha Carter says in response, if men's mental health mattered to men, they'd be creating safe spaces for themselves and each other. Instead, they perpetuate the very behaviors that have handicapped them in the first place, severely damaging the women in their lives who try to care for them.
Woman-hating fucking scum.
Is there someone else I can wait if you won't follow me?
And attack women online for not doing the work for them in replies to tweets like the one below.
Lol.
Would you like to ask him why he's here?
Receive an answer that isn't what I presented.
Two of my friends committed suicide, and I want the peace of understanding why that happened.
The idea of certain people are inherently more valuable than other people because of superficial physical attributes is part of patriarchy.
It's part of patriarchy, Allison. Yeah,
it's
well, we got to break that up.
So, answer for that, Hannah Cox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like,
You're not gonna answer for it. I'll
No.
answer for it though, because you won't. So, you know, what I'm trying to get at is all you guys out there, who these women fear, and that's why they refuse to take responsibility. Well, I'll take responsibility. Come at me, do your worst. I take responsibility. I take responsibility for it all. Like, I'm just so tired of this shit. I'm tired of women like this being so freaking terrified of taking responsibility, stepping up and saying, hey, maybe we can be better. I'll take it. I'll take it all. I'll even take Hannah Cox's. Do your worst. All right. But I won't take any more of her face.
Yeah, we gotta stop.
We got to stop.
We
Sorry,
gotta stop.
guys. All right.
That's enough of that.
Yeah. All right. So if you want to send us a message, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Send us your comments. And if you want to support the show, feedthebadger.com/support. I don't know what's going to happen for me just taking responsibility for all women everywhere and all the crap that they've done. Who knows? But yeah, there you go. We'll see. And please join us at feedthebadger.com, or sorry, badgernation.online. That's our Discord. It's got some cool stuff, and you can get a subscription. They'll give you access to even more cool stuff, including previews, special content, patron only streams, and that kind of stuff. feedthebadger.com/subscribe for that. And I also have yearly subscriptions now because a bunch of you asked. I think that I gave you the new boilerplate. I don't know if you put it in this time.
Oh, I thought that you put it in.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to work. Like, it's I don't know what's going on with YouTube.
I don't have the new boilerplate.
Yeah, you should. It should be.
I mean, it's not in it's not in this low bar, but
yeah, I'll send it to you again then to make sure that you have it. But yeah, so the yearly subscription will be in the new. Yep. It'll be in the new boilerplate. But if you are interested in that, because I know a few of you are expressed an interest in that, let me just locate my document and I can tell you the link. It's feedthebadger.com/product/subscription-I-want-to-support-yearly. And I'm going to do a better, I'll create a sexier link than that because that's really crap. But yeah, so those are the things. Do with them as you will. And back to you, Brian.
All right, and I will add the new boilerplate right after the show ends. So if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today, and please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we'll talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.